Hi, my name is Maria Pernell, and I was born in Stamford, Connecticut, and grew up in Clearwater, Florida. I was adopted at 2 weeks and was the only child of my adopted parents. My parents loved me, and I loved them. My mom was a school teacher and stressed education. I was raised in a church setting, and my parents gave me the best opportunities, everything from music lessons, classes, YMCA, traveling. But I found myself lonely because I lived in a community where others did not have the same opportunities as I. So I had no one to share my experiences. This loneliness moved into depression. I tried to make friends, but were those my friends for me or what I had? School proved to be a challenge. I attended school where my mom taught, had extra scrutiny by other teachers as well as the student themselves. As I progressed to high school, I found myself in college prep classes and was usually the only Black in the class. So I felt different and I did not feel comfortable with any group. And this led to my anxiety, causing me to not function in school. As time progressed, it led me to withdrawing from school for that semester. When I returned back to school, I was set to on the course to graduate. Then suddenly my father passed away 2 months before I was able to was to graduate. And this was devastating to me. I was very close to my dad and he was the love of my life. My mother did not take it well either. So I had to step in and push my emotions to the side to help her. My whole life, my mother was the strongest person I know, and I never had seen her fall apart. So I needed to push my emotions deep down to be strong for her. I made plans for college after graduation. My motivation at this point was to go to college was to get as far away from home as possible. So I chose Howard University, not fully really understanding I was going from a small town to a big city, not fully prepared. As I transitioned from high school to college, that year they were overcrowding the school, so I did not live on campus, but renting off campus with other college students in the city. Coming from a very structured background, I found myself overwhelmed with the sense of freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. In other words, I began to wild out instead of attending classes. So I found myself that year on academic suspension and yet again disappointing my mom, adding to my feelings of failure. So to ease that pain, I began to do more partying and drinking and experiment with other substances to mask that pain. After attending college for 4 years and not graduating, I moved back to Florida with a sense of shame, failure, image of a dropout, jobless, and depressed again. As I suppressed all these emotions, I became the life of the party in Clearwater. I went deeper into a destructive life. As I continued to use drugs out of enjoyment, I ended up using because I was addicted. This lasted about 7 to 8 years. My addiction to cocaine led me down a path where there were numerous arrests, jail time, court appearances, and ultimately me facing 15 years in prison. While waiting on my court appearance, I was placed on house arrest. Because of my pending charges, I was scared. I woke up one morning and I asked God to help me. As I laid there on my mom's Florida room floor, I prayed and asked God to help me. Man, I was scared and I didn't know which way to go, and I really needed help. Well, within 15 minutes, a friend of mine knocked on the door, and I shared with him that I was tired and I needed some help. This friend was a person that I used drugs with previously, but he had gotten clean and he was a counselor now at this drug treatment center. He immediately called the treatment center and asked if there was a bed, that he had a friend who needed it. They told him it would be about a 6-month waiting list, and he said, "Well, can you put her name on the list?" This doesn't mean that I still wasn't addicted to drugs and that I wasn't trying to get drugs, but it meant that I had asked for help. 2 days later, my friend came back and said, "It's a bed available and you will be going tomorrow," as she shared that with my community control officer. And and he told him that if he needed to meet with me, he could meet with me at the center. As that progressed, I can tell you it was but a but God moment. So that next day, I walked into the treatment center, which was a therapeutic community and a 2-year program. In this program, I learned that my addiction was masking all those emotions that I had experienced before coming and being addicted. Now I had a chance to work and acknowledge them. As I grew stronger, I had some recovery time and I began to reestablish my relationship with God. On my weekends away from the center, I would attend the church I grew up in. I was able to build my trust back with my mother. I began to have some normalcy coming back to my life. I was able to hold a job. I was able to go back to school, and overall, I felt God moving in my life. An example of this is when, on that weekend occasion, I would attend Sunday school. The Sunday school teacher shared a story about her prayer request. She had been praying for my deliverance from addiction. And then she revealed to the class that I was evidence of that prayer request. And that for me to be in that class today was God's enormous answer to prayer. That day, God revealed to me as a living witness to the power of prayer. And I am forever grateful that someone prayed for me. After treatment, I moved back to the DMV area, reconnecting with my old friend from college, who is now my husband. I stand before you today, giving God the honor and the praise. He was with me and he never left me or forsake me. I can give you story after story of my experiences over the last 32 years of what God's amazing grace has been extended to me. I couldn't get a job, but he provided a job. I couldn't have children, but he entrusted me with 3 daughters. I was homeless, he provided shelter. When I needed godly friends, he provided those as well. I needed a church family, he provided Antioch. During this journey of 62 years, he took me from Stamford, Connecticut, to Clearwater, Florida, to Washington, D.C., to Virginia, to Antioch Baptist Church, where I was blessed to find my biological sister. We had worship for 25 years and not knowing we were sisters. Then God revealed and brought us together. So God can deliver and set you free from all bondage. To God be the glory.